Hi, everyone. I'm Keith Mathis with the Mathis Group. Welcome to 7 Minutes to PMP Mastery. We are a registered ATP with the Project Management Institute. Our video today for helping you and give you some tips on the PMP exam is entitled Fighting the Fear in Taking the PMP Exam. I hear from a lot of different people who are afraid to take the PMP exam because they haven't taken a test in a long time. So let's take a few moments and run through some ideas and come up with a strategy that's going to help you be able to reduce that fear and pass the PMP. So how many people are afraid to take the PMP exam? These percentages can flow in a lot of different directions, but somewhere between 50 to 70% of the people say that they have some anxiety about taking the test in the first place. Somewhere between 10 to 15% report severe anxiety over the test. I mean, they are just frightful that they're not going to pass this test. So that causes them in many cases not to want to take it in the first place. Who are the most fearful? People who have not taken a standardized exam in years are usually the ones who are talking about this. So these are going to be people who've gotten out of school, gotten out of college, and they haven't taken a test at all since that time. And I get that. I happen to be somebody who's very fearful in taking exams. I've taken a lot of them, but you have to contain that fear in order to be able to take that standardized test. So why are people afraid to take the PMP exam? Here's some of the main reasons that we hear. It's a long test. You've got almost a 4-hour test that you're going to sit down to take. It can impact your promotion. It could impact your salary if you don't pass it. The test exam could be expensive. Some people will talk about the expense of taking the test. Failing the test will impact participants financially, emotionally, because they can't believe that they have failed something like this. Huge breadth of material. There is a lot of material on the PMP, and so that makes a huge difference in being able to understand it and pass those test questions. Test questions are scenario driven. That means that they give you a little situation and they say, what should the project manager do, or what should the project manager do next? Questions typically have two right answers. One's considered to be a better answer. So this is a little different for some people because you typically choose a right answer from a series of wrong answers, but that's not the case here. Many answers are almost right. So you've got a lot, you not only have two right answers with one being more right, you've got some that are really, really close to being right. Also, you must think like like PMI, not like a project manager in your industry or your organization. A lot of times people think, well, I've got 40 years of experience. That might be the very thing that hurts you or causes you to fail the first time because you think about it from the idea of what you would do in real life, and that's never how they're looking at it. They're looking at it through pure eyes, PMI eyes, pure how you'd have a perfect team, a perfect schedule, perfect sponsor, all of the things that you're thinking about that none of us really have like that. There's ambiguity and second guessing going on. And so that creates a little bit of disconcertment inside of all of us. What is the PMI and PMP mindset? We talk about that mindset. So here's the framework that you have to think about. Think like a servant leader, focus on collaboration, avoid escalation unless necessary, choose a proactive approach over a reactive one, choose preventative over corrective actions, protect the team, and take the authority and run the project. As you look at these anchors here, these anchors give you that PMI mindset. And so a lot of times you might not have the power in real life, but you have to escalate everything or get somebody's permission. Not on this test. On this test, if you're the project manager, you have the authority to make the call. You have an authority to be able to make these decisions. And so when you get this framework down and you look at all the test questions through these type of guardrails, it changes the way that you're going to come up with your answer. How do you know you are ready to take the test? Well, many times people just go on a wing and a prayer. That's what you don't want to do, okay? So take random mock-up PMP level exams. Now, many people jump online and just start taking all these freebies. A lot of these freebies are really, really bad because they go back multiple years before some of the other changes have happened to the PMP. So you want to be able to take PMP level exams, mock-ups that happen to be real for this particular test. This test is not like the other tests. Keep up with your scores. And so you should be going up with your scores. Sometimes people will say, well, I'm scoring in the 60s. A 60% on these scores, if it's a real PMP level score, is going to be too low. That's not high enough for you to pass the real test. You're shooting for around an 85, an 80 to an 85 on consistently on most of those PMP level exams. What if I fail? This is one of the things that people are paranoid about. Listen, you focus on controlling what you can control. I can't control the questions. I can't control a lot of things, but I can control myself on this. So what can you control? Your study. You go in as prepared as you possibly can be. So your study schedule, practice exam frequency. You're going to take several practice exams so that you know what's going on. Also, mindset. You're going in as positive, as upbeat as possible. You're going to look for key words to help you be able to distinguish between those two questions or those two answers that are both right, but one's technically more right than the other. And then you're going to determine what the question's really asking you. And that way you're coming up with a better answer consistently. When you are stuck, you're going to be stuck on your test at some point. You want to eliminate the wrong answers. That's going to be pretty easy. And then a couple of things to ask yourself. What should the PM do first? They ask you that on the test, but you're thinking about a process or you're thinking about a sequence. And so you think about it in that process. What's the first step in that process? What's the second, and so forth? What's the most proactive response? They don't want to see a knee-jerk reaction. They want to see that you're doing something to be able to prevent a problem down here, and that seems to be better for you. Avoid emotional or extreme answers. Avoid giving your authority or power away. Don't escalate in most cases because you have the power to do this. And do not answer if there is not enough information. A lot of times you'll have people say, well, there was an answer that said there's not enough information on that test question. Should I have chosen it? The answer is no, because they are not asking you to have you come back with there's not enough information. There's enough information. You might not see it, but I would not choose that. What about when you're stuck? Sit for a full mock-up PMP level exam. You can purchase one from PMI. If you go to an ATP, most of your ATPs will have some type of PMP level exam mock-up for you. Use a time box for 50 questions every hour. You've got to be on that sequence or you're going to get to the end of the test and you're not going to have enough to have enough time to finish the test. And then practice and know your ratio of questions to time. For every hour goes by, 50 questions is under your belt. That's what you're wanting to do. If you fail, reframe that failure. So if you fail, you can take it a total of 3 times. So 40% of the future PMPs have failed the test at least the first time. And that's according to PMI. 40% of the people will fail. So when someone fails the first test, most pass the second test. And your career probably does not collapse on whether you pass or fail this thing. So you have to kind of reframe it to where you think about it a little differently. And then create a panic plan. Fear spikes when you hit 5 or 6 hard questions in a row, and you're going to hit this, and so you have to be prepared for it. These hard questions are normal. Everybody gets 5 or 6 hard questions in a row that you feel like you're guessing on. So don't freak out over that. Another thing that people have been trained to do is flagging questions. You cannot get by with flagging questions today. Do not flag any questions because when the break comes, all of the questions that you've been exposed to are automatically turned into the system. So you do not want to flag any questions. That's a bad policy today. And those questions are turned in and you pick up on your current questions. So if you don't guess on those, if you don't have an answer on those, if you flag those, all of those are going to be turned in the way they are. Answer it, move on to the next, and then reset yourself to take some deep breaths. You've went through 5 or 6 hard questions. You're going to experience some questions that are a little bit easier for you. And then stay away from posting the horror stories. A lot of times when you see the horror stories and hear the horror stories, they mess you up. Be concerned, but be ready because this is going to be something that you have to do. Do not change your answer unless you've misread the question. The people who fail a lot of times will come back and say, I changed my answers. I probably changed 30 of my answers. Don't do that unless you've misread the question. Also, we specialize in helping people who are fearful. So we have a 97% first-time passing rate. We prep you. We give you PMP level tests to be able to practice. We actually right now are using about 400 of them so that you have 400 questions to be able to go through to get comfortable with the way it feels. And we have a 99% passing rate out of 3 exams. And so we are prepared to work with people who are fearful in taking that test. Also, we have a retake guarantee. So you'll pay for your first exam, but if you fail, we'll pay for your second and we pay for your third. And if you check around, there's not a lot of places in the world that will actually do that. And yet, this is one of the things that a lot of times people come to us. Now, if you pass the first time, it's not going to make any difference. But if you're fearful of it, then you're fearful that it's going to cost you a lot more money, then you want to make sure that you have some type of repayment guarantee. Let me close right here. If I can help you in any way, you can give us a call at 800-224-3731 or send me an email at Keith at the Mathis Group or go to our website. We do virtual PMP boot camps every other month. And so we have people from all over the world. I'm the one who always teaches those, and we'd love to have you in a class. So come and be part of this, and let's get this PMP behind you, okay? Have a great day. Bye now.